Hello and welcome to Picture Astrology. In this quick video, we will talk about placement of Ketu in the 5th house of the horoscope. And although 5th house is known as a trine house or trikona house, which basically means it's one of the most auspicious and positive houses in a native's chart, yet placement of Ketu in this place raise a lot of doubts and questions in people's mind, especially in areas related to kids or children's, because 5th house is the primary house which shows your children, and placement of Ketu in these houses or in the 5th house is not described very ceremoniously in many astrology classics. Also, in young people, since 5th house denotes the kind of love interest they attract, therefore at least I may get many questions about Ketu in 5th house and its effect on a person's love life or romantic life. And also Ketu being in the 5th house, which is the house of a person's creative abilities, can play an important role in anybody's professional success. So how does this Ketu behave in all these areas is what we'll try to understand in next few minutes. So let's start by discussing about children's. And let me start initially by clearly saying that just the fact that Ketu is sitting in your 5th house does not show that you will be devoid of children's happiness, because that is one of the biggest fear of many people who have this combination of Ketu in 5th. And always remember, see, Rahu and Ketu are like accelerators or decelerators. One of the basic principle of Rahu-Ketu interpretation, which we have discussed in the initial videos of Rahu-Ketu series. So if you see Ketu in 5th house, just by itself is not responsible for kids related issues or for parents to not have kids in their life. And in fact, Ketu in 5th house can sometimes give very loving and sincere kids. And the kids could also be a rebirth from your mother's side of family. I would suggest you check my video of Ketu in the 1st house and make the connection about why I am saying this. Yet there are some things which we can say with almost certainty with this Ketu. And first thing is that even in a good horoscope where other kids related indications such as Jupiter, which is the Karka of kids, and the Lord of 5th house, which would really rule the kind of kids you are going to get in this life. So even when these things are well placed, meaning they really have very good kids, yet these people somehow always tend to be worried about well-being of their kids. In one way or the other, they could always be worried about their education, their growth. They may always be worried about, oh, he's not playing so much, he's being lethargic, he's not speaking as many words he should have at this age, or some or the other kind of worry. See, and this happens because Ketu in some ways represents paranoia, and many times unfounded fears, unfounded worries or concerns are also represented by Ketu. And therefore, even if a person is good family and the chart support a good life for their kids, it is one of the most common thing for these folks to be always worried about their kids. Now in many cases, and especially when Jupiter is placed a little bit adverse to this 5th house, then there could be delay in getting kids. In fact, Jupiter's aspect on this Ketu also gives a delay in getting a kid, though as I said, the person does get a very good family life, very good offsprings, but a little later. And needless to say, I guess that in real life, only when 5th Lord Jupiter and also 5th from Jupiter, when all these three indications are severely afflicted, then only this Ketu causes trouble in getting a child. And since we are on the topic of children's, I want to just say that there is a concept in Vedic astrology which is in Sanskrit known as Kshetra concept for female in Bindu concept for male, and considering these 2 points are most important in cases when people are facing some inordinate amount of delay in extending the family or getting the children. And I will definitely make some videos about these two very important points, not just how to calculate them, but also with examples of how to strengthen these points for getting good kids. Now let's quickly talk about the love life. Now what happens is, fifth house is the house of your creative abilities, things which you are naturally attracted towards. And Ketu in this place kind of gives a very intense likes and dislikes, or rather intense and peculiar taste to people. So people with this placement of Ketu could be, really choosy and at the same time not easy to understand. They can show some kind of peculiar behavior in their choices, in the way they act. But as long as Mars and Venus are well placed, you shouldn't have much problem in this area. Now only thing, as I said, Ketu in fifth house can give some really deep and intense feeling in the person. And with this case, if there is a weaker moon and some affliction to either of this Mars and Venus, then especially in the young age or teenage boys and girls, you can see that these will be the people who, because of seriousness in their nature, cannot take any breakup easily. It takes some time and maybe some support from their friends and other well-wishers for them to come out of even minor breakups, and sometimes even with scuffles from friends. Even when they fight with their friends, it can affect them a lot emotionally, but it does not mean that they will not be able to find love in their life. I mean, Ketu alone here definitely does not signify that. Now we'll talk about two important things. One, the effect of Ketu on spirituality and also on the professional life. So let's begin with the spiritual aspect of this Ketu. So fifth house, as I said, is the house of your innate creative skills, things which you really like naturally. And Ketu's presence here in the fifth house of trine or dharma house can give a person a tendency to follow dharma in their daily routine. Many times, if there is a good place Jupiter along with this Ketu, these will be the people who might have a routine when it comes to religious or spiritual aspect. In Eastern culture, some of the people who do sadhana, yoga sadhana at a very specific time. And in Western culture, you can find people who would probably have some family tradition to go to church or synagogue or other things like that. So some kind of discipline in daily life is normally seen with this Ketu and a good Jupiter. And in any case, fifth house Ketu can give a lot of interest in occultism. It could be of any kind, like interest in astrology, numerology or related science, especially when the 8th house lord is included in it. And fifth house in Vedic astrology is known as house of Vidya. Vidya basically means some really specific skills, some tangible and unique ability which is obtained through a person's self-effort. It's like, see, getting a degree. Going to college and getting a degree is education, and then really learning to say be a great Java programmer or a great Python programmer, that is a skill. So fifth house shows your skills, things which you can tangibly good at, and therefore fifth house Ketu in spirituality shows people who are either master of a scripture or a particular type of scripture, or some people who are masters of mantra siddhi, the great science of sound, and I will make some videos about how mantras practically affect our lives. But 5th house Ketu along with good 3rd house can really give somebody who is deeply interested in mantra sadhana. Now let's quickly talk about the professional or work related aspect of this Ketu. Now many of the classical Vedic astrology books, they say that 5th house is the place which shows how easily you can climb up the ladder, how easily you can obtain a higher position in life. Now when there is a malefic place in 5th house, and with this case if the 8th lord is afflicted or is it afflicting Ketu in some way, then a person can see a sudden rise and sometimes a sudden fall, but again a sudden rise. And that rise and fall is about, position. It is about the kind of post or authority you wield in your workplace. So sometimes, in modern world scenario, people who were, in a very good place or position in a company like director or VP, and suddenly the company got sold out, or the company moved to new location, or for various other reasons, people had to step down from their position, and then after some time they again get back to their desired post. But that sudden upheaval, that sudden up and down nature in profession can be indicated by this Ketu. But as I said, for that to happen, the 8th lord has to play a role, and when this 8th lord simultaneously afflicts 10th as well as the 5th house, then it is a more likely scenario. So friends, this was my quick analysis of Ketu in 5th house. I hope this would have given you some more new food for thought. Please do share your experience if you have this placement of Ketu. And I really thank you for being with me so far, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.